morning. So a Trump-backed bill to avoid a government shutdown has failed. The government shutdown deadline is midnight. Negotiations continue, but the finger pointing has begun. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Republicans' fault. Let's talk it over with this commentator from Young Voices. Isaac Willour is back on the Davison Family Dentistry Newsmaker line. Good morning, Isaac. Welcome to WHO Radio.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, Isaac. Now, here's what I'm wondering. A lot of times the Republicans get the grief for a government shutdown, but this is an era of social media, and I think a lot more people know what's in these bills. How do you think that's affecting this debate?
Oh, man, a lot of people who are not lawmakers having opinions on these bills, expansive opinions on this bill. I mean, let's be real about this. If Elon Musk had not known about this bill, the original, rather bloated CR probably would have gone to a vote. It might have passed. Who knows? I think that's a super valid point. I mean, look, when it comes to averting a government shutdown, I mean, it starts Friday at midnight if this doesn't get fixed, right? And the revised CR that went from, I think, 1,178 pages down to less than 200, that CR didn't even get a majority vote, let alone the two-thirds it would have needed to. So who's to blame here, right? Well, some Democrats are, certainly, but 38 Republicans also voted against this. This was not a bill that was going to pass at all. And among those 38 Republicans are people like Chip Roy, who, for all of his eccentricities, shall we say, is not exactly a compromiser when it comes to fiscal conservatism and that sort of thing. I understand Trump's emotional response to wanting to primary Chip Roy for voting against the CR. I get it, but it's poor strategy, right? If Jeff Roy isn't interested in raising the debt limit, I think it's by like $5 billion without corresponding spending cuts, why are you threatening to primary him? It doesn't make sense. The reality is this voting bloc, I think it was 38 Republicans voted against this. This is a harbinger of how things could go for Trump legislatively as he moves into post-January, right?
Yeah.
You have this bloc of people who are willing to not fall in party line. That's a real legislative struggle that the president is going to have to overcome. And how he manages to negotiate that is going to, it seems like, it's going to depend a lot on how much he relies on people who are relative Washington outsiders like Elon Musk and how much he relies on people who are actually within the policymaking machine.
Isaac Willour on the Davison Family Dentistry Newsmaker line of Young Voices. Isaac, I'm noting that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, or the Vice President-elect, he's going to meet with the House Freedom Caucus a little bit later this morning. I'm wondering if this sets up a scenario where if there's just some cuts that make these conservatives happy, they can point to some cuts, we'll get a bill by midnight tonight. Do you think that's a good Republican strategy? Because I'm totally with you on your point that this is a signal to Trump how it might go fiscally next year. But you may be able to set maybe the tone for next year if you can come up with a compromise with some cuts that makes the Freedom Caucus happy. What are you thinking here?
Oh man, it's possible. I mean, I'm not sure in terms of the numbers how plausible that would be, but if they can manage that, that would be fantastic. I mean, one of the issues, the ideas that's been brought up, I think it was by Thomas Massey, is this whole thing of single subject with bills, just break everything down to single subjects and then vote on them individually. I mean, I think legislatures talk about single subject bills in more or less the same way that people on hallucinogens talk about unicorns. I totally believe they're sincere, but it's going to take some significant change to move me out of skepticism, right? Maybe if Thomas Massey was speaker, but that's never happened, so it's not really worth hypotheticalizing about. I mean, look, getting a 1,500-page bill down to less than 200 pages is great. That's a huge win. But the more Trump relies on people like Elon Musk in this specific area, right? Cutting government waste is great. That's what Elon's great at. But he's just not used to the political machinations that always follow these budget issues. It's not his world of expertise. And I think if we or he thought that Doge, which I'm very pro-Doge, was just going to cut through everything and make the entire legislative structure work like a business, I would refer you to not only the past century of American bureaucracy, but also the Federalist Papers. We talk about why gridlocks exist in the governmental process, right? Not everything changes when a new president comes into office, even a president that people may like. This is just reality. If those cuts happen, to your point, if those cuts happen, maybe it gets through, but it's playing with fire. I would say a government shutdown pretty much guaranteed unless some real momentum shift happens. But then again, a real momentum shift happened yesterday, so anything's possible.
Right. So you were ending there, Isaac, with a prediction. You think that government shutdown is probably going to happen, and then we wait. And do we literally wait until Trump is president to solve this? What are you thinking?
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, there's a shot at that. And I mean, It's not a particularly long government shutdown. I mean, it will be if you're a government worker, but that's not a massively long government shutdown. And again, we want to avoid government shutdowns as a general rule. But is it possible? Yeah, it's a realistic possibility, maybe more likely than not at this point. But then watch, this will totally flip, and then I'll have to eat all my words. It's totally possible, but that doesn't change the fact. If that happens, it doesn't change the fact that Trump still has 38 Republicans who wouldn't break and fall into party rank and file to vote with him. That's a legislative problem that's still going to be there, and hopefully he has a better solution for it than just shut the government down until I don't get what I want. That would be great.
Isaac Willour, and I think that's very realistic. This gives Trump an idea of what it's going to be like to work with this House in the next year. Isaac of Young Voices. Isaac, thanks for talking to us this morning.